The bravest of the brave, the Gurkhas' legacy in the British military and the Victoria Cross. The British were known for classifying people into specific categories. They labeled certain nationalities and classes from the subcontinent, such as the Gurkhas, Sikh and Jat, as martial races. Martial race was typically brave and well built for fighting, while the non-martial races were those races which the British considered unfit for battle because of their sedentary lifestyle. Their favorite was the Gurkha of Nepal, whom they proudly called the bravest of the brave and soldiers of the soldier. Among the British and British Indian armies, the Gurkha regiment was specifically identified with the Victoria Cross. If the number of Victoria Crosses is used as a measure of regiment success, then the Gurkhas excelled, achieving triumphs that are remembered as classic examples of both victory and tragedy. The Gurkhas earned 5 Victoria Crosses during the Great War, 1914 to 1918, with Rifleman Kulbir Thapa of the 2x3rd Queen's Alexandra's own Gurkha rifles being the first Gurkha and second non-British soldier to receive this honor. The London Gazette on November 18, 1915 announced his award, citing his conspicuous bravery during operations against German trenches south of Makusarg. Despite being badly wounded on September 25, 1915, he found a severely injured soldier from the 2nd Regiment behind the 1st German trench. Although urged by the British officer to save himself, he stayed with the wounded soldier all day and night. Early on September 26th, in misty weather, he brought the soldier through the German wire to a place of relative safety. He then returned and rescued 2 wounded Gurkhas, one after the other. Finally, he went back in broad daylight for the British soldier, carrying him most of the way while under enemy fire. During World War II, 1938 to 1945, the Gurkhas were awarded 10 Victoria Crosses, with 7 of these honors earned on the Eastern Front. This remarkable achievement may remain unparalleled in military history. Whether enduring the heat of the African desert, the frostbite of the French or Italian winters, or the humidity of marshy jungles of Burma, the Gurkhas live by the motto, Kafar hune vanda marnu राम्रो, meaning better to die than be a coward. Their saga of sacrifice and heroism made the name Gurkha synonymous with fearlessness and unwavering devotion of duty. The numerous headless Japanese and Germans stand as silent witnesses to their formidable reputation. The Victoria Cross warrants have a fascinating history. The Victoria Cross Medal was instituted by Queen Victoria in the 19th year of her reign, which corresponds to 1856 in the Christian calendar. The warrants are divided into 15 clauses detailing the procedures and methods for awarding this highest military honor. The medal was intended for men of all ranks, from soldiers to officers, in both the military and the navy. It features a bronze Maltese cross with the royal crest at the center and an inscription below that reads, "For Valor." Queen Victoria hoped the medal would be highly prized and eagerly sought by men and officers of naval and military services. The award was given for a single act of bravery or devotion to the country, with each award published in the official London Gazette alongside a full citation of the act of valor. The Victoria Cross remains a highly coveted award among Nepali soldiers serving in the Gurkha Regiment of the British Army. While the medal holds intrinsic value, the cost of earning the 15th Victoria Crosses awarded to Gurkhas during the 2 world wars was immense. Approximately 24,000 Gurkhas were killed, wounded or went missing in action during World War II, and about 20,000 met the same fate in World War I. The Nepali people recount numerous tales of Gurkha soldiers who were permanently blinded or paralyzed during these conflicts. The dozen or so Victoria Crosses award can hardly compensate for such colossal losses. During both World War, the Nepali Gurkha were told that the Germans were their enemies, with the Japanese added to the list in World War II. However, these soldiers were living in a world of myths and illusions. while myths and illusions have their charms, the truth is far more profound. The Germans and the Japanese were not traditional enemies of the Nepalese, nor were the English their natural allies. Gurkhas fought for a cause they did not fully understand, sacrificing their lives for reasons that remain unclear to them. When a Gurkha soldier was asked by N. Hamilton about the cause of World War I, he replied with a characteristic smile and simplicity. The German king had been rude to the British king. This response highlighted his inability to grasp the complexities of the war or the deep crisis in values rooted in European civilization. Since the Victoria Crosses were awarded for single acts of bravery, it is fitting to examine a few citations for this prestigious honor. By reviewing 2 posthumous citations and 2 other citations, Nepalese people today can gain a better understanding of the perilous situations. Citations of the posthumous awards of the Victoria Crosses. Citation in respect of the posthumous award of Victoria Cross to Netrabahadur Thapa Magar, 2nd Battalion of the 5th Gurkha Rifles. Date of action 25th June 1944. Location Burma. In Burma on the 25th of June 1944, Subedar Netrabahadur Thapa Magar commanded a garrison of 41 men from the 5th Royal Gurkha Rifles at an isolated piquet known as Motor Bluff, which overlooked the base at Bisenpur. The positions had been overrun by strong enemy forces the previous night and was still in enemy hands. Retention of Motor Bluff was vital to the safety of other positions further down the reach and to Visnepur itself. When the enemy began to attack, 75 men and 37 mm guns were brought to the high ground overlooking the positions, pouring shells at point-blank range for 10 minutes into a narrow confines of the piquet. This was followed by determined attacks by a company of Japanese soldiers. Fierce fighting ensued, during which Netrabahadur's men, inspired by the leader, held their ground against heavy odds and drove the enemy back with disproportionate losses. Throughout this time, Netrabahadur, with tireless energy and complete disregard for danger, moved from post to post, encouraging the young NCOs and riflemen and tending to the wounded. Under the cover of a pitch-dark night and torrential rain, the enemy then moved through the jungle, from which they launched another furious attack. The enemy poured out of the jungle across a short space of open ground to the piquet defense under cover of small arms and 37 mm gunfire from a flank. With much reduced firepower, one section was unable to hold on, and the enemy forced an entrance, overrunning 2 sections and killing or wounding 12 out of 16 men in those sections. Having no reserves, Netrabahadur himself went forward and stemmed by any further advance with grenades. Despite the critical situation, with ammunition running low and the enemy in possession of part of the perimeter, Netrabahadur maintains his defense. A section of 8 men arrived with grenades and small arm ammunition. This inevitably drew enemy fire, and all 8 soon became casualties. On this meet, Netrabahadur retrieved ammunition and took the offensive armed with grenades and his kukuri. He received a bullet wound in the mouth and died shortly afterward, with a kukuri in hand and a dead Japanese soldier with a cleft skull at his side. True to the traditions of his service and race, Subedar Netrabahadur Thapa fought against overwhelming odds for 8 hours before he was killed. His personal bravery and high sense of duty so inspired his men that they held the vital positions to the limit of human endurance. His valor and devotion to duty will remain an epic in the history of regiment. Citation in respect to the posthumous award of Victoria Cross to 55537 Rifleman Thanman Gurung of the 1st Battalion, 5th Royal Gurkha Rifles, Frontier Force. Date of action 10th November 1944. Location Monte San Bartolo, Italy. On the 10th of November 1944, a company of the 5th Royal Gurkha Rifles was ordered to send a fighting patrol onto Monte San Bartolo, an objective for a future attack. Rifleman Thanman Gurung was one of the 2 scouts in this patrol. Through skillful stalking, both scouts managed to reach the base of the position undetected. Rifleman Thanman Gurung then began working his way to the summit. Suddenly, the second scout noticed Germans in the slit trench below the plateau preparing to fire machine guns at a leading section. Realizing that an enemy attack would result in heavy casualties for his section, Rifleman Thanman Gurung leaped to his feet and charged the Germans. Taken completely by surprise, the Germans surrendered without firing a shot. Rifleman Thanman Gurung then crept forward to the summit and observed Germans well docked in on the reserve slope, preparing to throw grenades over the crest at a leading section. Although the interceptions line was devoid of cover and under accurate machine gun fire at close range, he crossed it immediately, firing his Tommy gun at the German position, which allowed the forward section to advance. Despite heavy enemy machine gun fire, the platoon was ordered to withdraw. Rifleman Thanman Gurung crossed the skyline alone again. Fully exposed to enemy fire, he methodically fired burst after burst from his Tommy gun into the German slit trench until he ran out of ammunition. He then threw his 2 remaining grenades and, rejoining his section, collected 2 more grenades. Once again, he struggled over the bullet-swept crest and hurled them at the remaining Germans. His diversion enabled the rear sections to withdraw without further losses. The leading section, which had stayed behind to assist the platoon's withdrawal, was still on the summit. Rifleman Thanman Gurung, shouting for the section to withdraw, seized a Braun gun and several magazines. Knowing his action meant almost certain death, he ran to the top of the hill and stood on the bullet-swept summit in full view of the enemy, opening fire at the nearest enemy positions. It was not until he had emptied 2 complete magazines and the remaining section was safely withdrawing that Rifleman Thanman Gurung was killed. Rifleman Thanman Gurung's superb gallantry and self-sacrifice enabled his platoon to withdraw from an extremely difficult positions with minimal casualties. The ammunition and information brought back by platoon contributed to the capture of the Monte San Bartolo, featured 3 days later. Citation for regular award of the Victoria Cross. Citation in respect of the award of Victoria Cross to number 87726, Rifleman Lachiman Gurung of the 2nd Battalion, 8 Gurkha Rifles. Date of action: night of 12 and 13th May 1945. Location: Tangdao, Burma, on the west bank of Irrawaddy. On the night of 12 to 13 May 1945, Rifleman Lachiman Gurung was manning the most forward post of his platoon at Tangdao in Burma. At least 200 enemy soldiers assaulted the company position, with the brunt of the attack falling on Rifleman Lachiman Gurung's section and his post in particular, which dominated a jungle path leading into the platoon locality. Before assaulting, the enemy hurled innumerable grenades at the position from close range. One grenade fell on the lip of Rifleman Lachiman Gurung trench. He immediately grabs it and hurled it back at the enemy. Almost immediately, another grenade fell directly inside the trench, and again, Rifleman Gurung snatched it up and threw it back. A third grenade then fell just in front of the trench. He attempted to throw it back, but it exploded in his hand, blowing off his fingers, shattering his right arm, and severely wounding him in the face, body, and right leg. His 2 comrades were also badly wounded and lay helpless at the bottom of the trench. Despite his severe injuries, Rifleman Lachiman Gurung loaded his rifle with his left hand and maintained a continuous and steady rate of fire. The enemy, screaming and shouting, formed up shoulder to shoulder and attempted to rush the position by sheer numbers. Wave after wave of fanatical attacks were repulsed with heavy casualties. For 4 hours, Rifleman Lachiman Gurung remained alone at his post, waiting with perfect calm for each attack and meeting it with point-blank rifle fire, determined not to give an inch of ground. Of the 87 enemy soldiers counted dead in the immediate vicinity of the company's locality, 31 lay in front of Rifleman Lachiman Gurung's section, the key to hold position. Had the enemy succeeded in overrunning and occupying his trench, the entire reverse slope would have been completely dominated and turned. His magnificent example inspired his comrades to resist the enemy to the last, and although they were surrounded and cut off for 3 days and 2 nights, they held their ground and repelled every attack. Rifleman Lachiman Gurung of the 4th Battalion, 8 Gurkha Rifles, exhibited extraordinary courage when his post was attacked by Japanese forces. Despite severe injuries, he held his ground, repelling multiple enemy attacks with grenades and rifle fire. His unwavering determination and bravery under extreme conditions inspired his comrades and significantly contributed to the defense of his position. Rifleman Lachiman Gurung's gallant and extreme devotion to duty in the face of overwhelming odds were the main factors in the defeat of the enemy. Citation in respect of the award of Victoria Cross to Havaldar Gazeghale of the 2nd Battalion of the 5th Royal Gurkha Rifles. Objective: capture of Basa East Hill, Chin Hills. Date of action: 24-25 May 1943. To stop the advance of superior Japanese forces into the Chin Hills, it was essential to capture Basa East Hill, the key to the enemy position. After 2 failed assaults, a 3rd assault was ordered involving 2 platoons from Havaldar Gazeghale's companies and 2 companies from another battalion. Havaldar Gazeghale, who had never been under fire before, commanded one of these platoons, which consisted of young soldiers. The approach to the objective was along a narrow knife-edge ridge with steep sides and sparse jungle cover, while the enemy was well concealed. In places, the approach was no more than 5 yards wide, covered by a dozen enemy machine guns, and subjected to artillery and mortar fire from the reverse slope. While preparing to attack, the platoons came under heavy mortar fire, but Havaldar Gazeghale rallied them and led them forward. While preparing to attack, the platoon came under heavy mortar fire, but Havaldar Gazeghale rallied them and led them forward. As they approached close range, they came under intense fire from a well-trenched enemy platoon, and Havaldar Gazeghale was wounded in the arm, chest, legs by an enemy hand grenade. Ignoring his serious wounds and the heavy fire from all sides, Havaldar Gazeghale continued to lead his men, closing in on the enemy and engaging in bitter hand-to-hand combat. Havaldar Gazeghale dominated the fight with his outstanding examples, dauntless courage, and superb leadership. Covered in blood from his neglected wounds and hurling hand grenades, he led assault after assault, encouraging his platoon with the Gurkha battle cry, "Ayo Gorkhali, the Gurkha are upon you." Inspired by the leader's will to win, the platoon stormed and captured the hill, inflicting heavy casualties on the Japanese. Havaldar Gazeghale then held and consolidated the hard-won positions under heavy fire. He only went to the regimental aid post, refusing all help when ordered to do so by an officer. The courage, determination and leadership displayed by Havaldar Gazeghale under such trying conditions are beyond all praise. The Gurkhas of the British Army continued to hold the Victoria Cross in high esteem despite its modest material value. This bronze medal symbolizes an unparalleled honor that transcends its physical form. It embodies a legacy of bravery and sacrifice that is deeply felt among those associated with it. The Gurkhas' identification with the Victoria Cross is a testament to their steadfast commitment to duty and courage under fire. However, the history of Victoria Cross also raises profound questions that linger in the collective conscience. These questions touch upon issues of recruitment practices, national pride, and integrity. However, the history of Victoria Cross also raises profound questions. These questions touch upon issues of recruitment practices, national pride, and integrity. Nepal stands alone among nations in the late 20th century, not only for providing soldiers to foreign armies, but also for hosting recruitment centers on its own soil. The long-standing tradition of sending mercenaries abroad can be economically justified, a stance taken by successive Nepali government since the early 1800s. Yet this practice has also brought about a significant erosion of national honor and self-respect among Nepali patriots, politicians, and social leaders. The toll of conflict abroad resonates deeply within Nepali households, where each engagement prompts anxiety and fear as families count the casualties among Gurkhas. Today, it is undeniable that Gorkha recruitment has placed Nepal's national honor at stake. The Nepali people and government are acutely aware of this reality. Despite this awareness, little has been done to reverse this trend or address the underlying concern it raises. The challenge remains how to reconcile the profound martial traditions of the Gurkhas with the contemporary imperatives of national sovereignty and self-respect in Nepal. Thank you.